Hey, you guys, we are David and Leslie Nunnery with Teach Them Diligently. And today on Homeschool Family Bites, we're going to be talking about collaboration um, and our need for it. And we're going to start by talking about collaboration within the home. And then, depending on how that goes, we may branch out and talk outside of the home. But we really wanted to kind of zero in on just the working together, the partnership that you've been given within your home, and how that can impact everything that you do. That I was thinking as we were talking about this topic, the Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes 4 that two are better than one. It's not good to walk alone. In fact, it even talks about if one falls down, the other one's there to pick you up. And it says in verse 10, I think it is, but pity to the one that walks by himself. And so your partnership, your living in community and collaboration, both with your spouse, but also with others outside of your home that you can partner with, as you homeschool, as you parent, as you disciple, all of those things. This collaboration is really super important.
Well, I think this is a big issue, as you were talking about before, and we've kind of touched on this from several different
Yeah.
angles as we've been doing this because this is such a big issue. And there are all kinds of things that you face with collaboration or partnerships. It's not easy working together on stuff. And I think this is really hard, but it's also one of those things that we really need.
Yes.
And that's the reason why we keep coming back to it, is because first of all, it's not something that's easy to do, and second of all, it is something that you really need.
Yeah, well, even you see all the way back at the garden where God set in motion collaboration. It's not good for man to be alone, right? He needed a helpmeet. He needed um, the other half, which is what's actually inscribed in the inside of David's wedding ring. Is he's my other half. But God created us to work together, to stand together, to carry burdens together. It's a very, very powerful concept. So, I wanted to first of all talk about how you do that within your home. So, David, how we know that it's important. God has laid out that it's important, but what are some ways that we have found, or that we've talked to others who have found, to actually get on the same page, begin that collaboration, especially in new things? Like for so many that are watching, homeschooling is a new thing, or it was at one point. So, let's start with that as an example. How do you get on the same page regarding homeschooling?
Well, I think that, and we've talked about this before as well. It's having the same goals.
Mm-hmm.
We actually, when we did goals before, I mean, we've done emails on this, we've done an ebook on it, we've done a homeschool family bites on this, and we go through the 4 different layers of goals. What I'm talking about is that big, huge goal at the top, the crazy goal, the one that you dream about. Are you on the same page on that? Because if you're not on the same page, and one of you is really concerned about discipleship, and the other one is just really worried about chasing and getting away from a bully, or you're only worried about grades, then that's going to kind of trickle down to other areas.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're on the same page on the reason why you are homeschooling, then that's going to trickle down, and it's going to be a lot easier to be partners in how you do this, because you're going to always be able to fall back on that. So when you disagree on something, you disagree on a curriculum, you disagree on a particular situation, you disagree on how one of them's grading papers or something, you're always going to be able to fall back to that one big goal that you have. And then once you both agree on what that one big goal is, you're going to say, okay, what allows that to happen? What gives us the best chance of
Mm-hmm.
that actually happening?
Yeah, in Heart School, I actually walk you through how to make sure that you're on the same page. Walk through your mission together, walk through your goals together, walk through how God brought you to that point. Those are really important exercises to do together as a couple, so that you make sure that your vision is unified.
So if you are a Christian family, you all should have the same goal,
Yes.
right? You should have this goal of bringing your children to Christ, and then you have these concrete elements to that, which is what if my goal is to bring my children to Christ or for them to walk with Christ when they get older, how is that going to be evident in their lives? And then that falls down into what you can control, and then it falls down to what you're going to do every single day. And so once you kind of work through your goals that way, then you're going to kind of fall in line.
Mm-hmm.
As you were saying, you went through this in heart school. I just wanted to kind of touch on that real quick because um, I think that families really they may get the top goal right, but they have a really hard time working that back through everything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, so what then? Because I know that people are asking out there that are wondering, what do you do when you're not on the same page? How do you, what kind of friend? You never let your children see you fight, or you never, you guard all of that, and all of these things that we've heard all of our lives. How practically do you approach a subject when you and your spouse are not on the same page? What is the action step for that? And I'd be very interested to hear your take on this. We didn't talk about this before.
Just put me on the spot here.
Exactly.
Oh, you want me to answer?
I,
Okay. That
literally,
wasn't
I
a
asked you a
rhetorical
question.
question?
No, no,
Oh,
no.
okay. All right. So I would say that first of all, things have to be lined up right in the home,
Hmm.
right? So when you go through Ephesians, 5 and 6, Paul gives one thing, wives, you need to submit to your husband. Another way to kind of look at that is you need to believe in them. You need to have confidence in them. Husbands, you need to love your wives. But, before he even goes through all that, he starts talking about gratitude and being grateful. And my point in bringing that up is that a synonym for gratitude is appreciation. So are you actually, I mean, do you care about this person? Are they important to you?
Hmm.
Are they valuable to you?
Because if they are, you're going to be a lot easier in working
Absolutely.
through those things which you may disagree about, those finer points.
That's exactly right. And so what your children really want to see is they want to be secure in knowing that things are stable, and what's stable to them and what they see is actually the model of the home looking like what it looks like in
Hmm.
Ephesians,
Hmm.
and that gives them comfort. And so there's actually room for a little bit of argument in there in front of the kids, but if you end up throwing plates and all,
We don't do
we don't do that.
that. Just to
um,
clarify.
but if it gets to that level, that extreme, then that absolutely is not what needs to happen. But it starts off with the home being organized and being laid out in a way that God actually intended from the very beginning.
Because there has to be a hierarchy. There has to be, that's why God set it in motion. But here's one thing that I wanted to add on to what you had to say there. I totally agree with Paul's hierarchy there and how important that is, and the appreciation and the love and all of that factors into it. But the other element of that is there needs to be humility. There has to be humility to not cling so tightly to your own ideas that you're not willing, you're belligerent about anything else that sways outside of
Oh,
them.
absolutely.
In fact, on Friday in 365, when we look at what love does, that's going to be part of it. It's just clinging. It doesn't just cling to its own ideas, and fight to have its own way all the time. And so there's definitely that. There have been so many times when um, I think that we have both learned through disagreements where, as we've discussed and worked through them, and you kind of see the other person's perspective, a lot of times the actual answer is somewhere in the middle. That's why we're partners. We work together. He needs my perspective and I need his. But if we're not willing to engage in those conversations, if we're not willing to open our minds and see things through the other person's eyes or perspective, you're never going to get true collaboration where you're impacting your family in that way.
Well, so many things that are in the Bible in terms of directives love your wife. Well, that becomes really difficult as a husband when you're so caught up in yourself.
Right.
And you have the same situation on the other side with submissive. It's actually impossible to be grateful as it is laid out in the Bible if you are narcissistic and you are selfish and you're trying to heap all the glory to
Yeah.
yourself. If you're more worried about the other person more than you're worried about yourself, all of those things kind of fall back into line much easier.
Yeah.
And so, exactly what you're talking about in terms of being selfish, and the other thing is that there's this idea of you're actually there's a pride issue that falls into this where you're not willing to give up your position.
Right. Right.
you
Not
know
willing to learn, not willing
Absolutely. and
whatever.
and that's a lot easier when you're selfish. It's when to be filled with pride and to
Yes.
not give up your position.
But another thing that's so important to note on that, your children see that. Your children know if you are too dogmatic to hear. You're too. They would call it stubborn. Um, but they can see if you are not modeling collaboration in a biblical way, working together, seeing one another's perspective, and actually coming to a missional decision that is best for your family and within God's call. So
So
you can't lose sight of the fact that you are actually modeling a relationship for your children in that way.
So just to back up on this, when you are dealing with an argument and both of you feel like you're right, the really the pathway should be, why are we doing this in the first place? What is our goal? What are we trying to achieve? Where are we going?
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, okay, the best way to achieve this is this pathway, and you can actually talk through it from that standpoint, and you both need to be willing to say, you know what, the other one is right, this pathway is best to be able to achieve the goals that we had,
Mm-hmm.
or that we set out.
Yep.
And so you got to have those goals first, and you got to have that lined up.
Yep. So true. So true. We are out of time today, so we'll have to do collaboration outside of your family another day. But thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope this was helpful. I hope that you waded through it with us as we kind of looked at all of those things. Would love to have you like, share, comment. Would love to hear what you have to say. So leave us a comment down below or share this on your page. Help us reach as many families as we possibly can. So hope you have a great afternoon, and David and I will see you again tomorrow, Lord willing.
Thank you.
Bye.